Hello and welcome to Spirit and Life Radio. I'm your host, Jeffrey Meyer. Now today we're going to get right back into how to take the limits off God after our important two broadcasts concerning the midterm election. Now let's dig into what the centurion saw that could take the limits off Jesus. How did he see Jesus? Certainly the unnamed centurion in Matthew chapter 8. If you remember, it is the centurion servant who is sick, paralyzed, and dreadfully tormented. And he asked Jesus to heal him, and Jesus says in Matthew chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. God's perfect will right there. Now, verse 8 says, the centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For as I am a man under authority, have soldiers under me, and I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. Verse 10, and when Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, assuredly I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. Certainly the unnamed centurion in this passage could not have been dwelling on negatives, or he never would have seen Jesus in such a brilliancy that his faith was ranked by Jesus as above that of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all of Israel. He wasn't looking at any negatives to get that commendation. Neither was he looking with his natural eyes, for if he had, the centurion would have seen only what every other person saw, and his servant may never have been healed. Certainly what the centurion saw through his natural eyes was not the same thing at all that he saw with his sixth sense, remember, which we are calling his faith or our faith, his inner sense of knowing. And when he told Jesus the condition of his servant, Jesus had graciously responded with the officer to come and heal him. That would have seemed like the thing to do to most people. But the centurion saw that this was a completely unnecessary act. For the centurion responded in verse 8, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. Notice the faith, will be healed. The reason that the centurion was able to make that statement with such faith was because he was not seeing Jesus just as a tall Galilean who had just come down from the mountains with his friends to Capernaum. In fact, verse 1 states that Jesus had come down from the mountain and great multitudes followed him. This is why also when Jesus heard the centurion say to him, but only speak a word, and Jesus heard that and he marveled, and he said to those who followed, the multitudes who followed him, but how did this centurion see Jesus? Jesus, no doubt, was wearing the ordinary clothing of that period. He certainly was not wearing a smartly styled uniform or carrying weapons of war. He was not wearing the insignia of some great military commander, like the centurion more than likely was, but the sixth sense possessed by the centurion saw Jesus as the greatest and mightiest commander, the most authoritative person who ever walked on this earth. He saw in Jesus a parallel to his own situation, and he said to him in verse 9, For I am also a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. Remember, friend, all truth is parallel, and you can see this clearly in this passage. The centurion was a man with authority and with power. He had his uniform and his weapons. He had his complement of soldiers. He knew what his own ability and authority in the natural was. He was under authority of the ruler of Rome, and by that authority he was able to give orders that must be carried out instantly and obediently by those over whom he had been given authority. He could say to one man, go take a message, and the man would run. He'd go. He could say to another, report to me concerning the front of a battle. and the man would report. He might say to a orderly, "Lay out my uniform," and the uniform would be laid out. Large or small, dangerous or mundane, whatever task he spoke would be carried out because of the authority he had. He was a man of authority and under authority. There's a great illustration of this in an old story, wherein an elderly man who lived some many years ago in a one-store town through which the main highway ran. The man wore a badge that identified him as the local justice of the peace. Usually this man didn't have much to do, just rest in his chair on the porch of the small courthouse, which also served as a post office. And one day as he lounged in his chair, the old man heard a great roar, and he saw a big rig semi-trailer come barreling down the hill at a tremendous rate of speed. And this man got up from his chair and strode out to the road. As the rig approached, he held his hand up in the air in a very commanding manner, though he stood scarcely 5 feet tall. The truck driver saw the little white-haired man, and he brought his big rig to a screeching halt. When he got out of the cab, you could see he was a big man, about 6'4" and weighing about 250 pounds. He was at least twice the size of this little man who had stopped him. But the truck driver began to apologize. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was getting so close to town. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize I was getting so close to town. I'm sorry. I promise I'll be more careful." Well, the little man shook his bony finger in his face at that big truck driver and said, "I'm going to fine you for speeding. Now either you pay up or I'm going to put you in jail." This would look almost laughable, but the trucker followed the little man into the courthouse and meekly paid his fine, and then he climbed into his cab and started off slowly. Why did he stop? The little man could have never have walked out on the road and stopped that big rig. When you think about it, it could have or would have smashed him flat. Why did the driver meekly pay the fine? He easily could have whipped the old little man with one arm. But why was he so submissive and so obedient? He did it because of the authority the old man was under. The badge said the man wearing it was under the authority of the state of Nevada. All the resources of the state militia and National Guard were available to back him up. If that would not be enough, he had all the forces of the United States behind him, courts, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, you name it. He was just a little scrawny man, though. But he was a man under authority. And when he spoke, the big, tough, 6'4", 250-pound tough trucker had to listen. Well, the centurion was a man under authority. But when he looked at Jesus, he saw someone under much greater authority than the authority he was under. He saw one under the authority of God himself, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Ancient of Days, the Alpha and the Omega, the Great I Am. He saw one under direct assignment and authority of God the Father, who had come to earth with this mission and this authority. This authority was in his Son. And this is why the Scripture declares in 1 John chapter 3, verse 8, "For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil," to take authority and destroy him. Why? "Because all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth concerning Jesus," Matthew chapter 28, verse 18. He saw Jesus under that mandate from heaven and with the authority to carry out that mandate. He said, "Jesus, you're just like me. We can relate. I am under the authority of Rome, and I can command any one of the soldiers under me, and they will obey. And I tell them come, and they come. I tell them go, and they go. But you're here under authority too, a greater authority than Rome. A greater authority than any earthly authority. You are under authority of Almighty God, and all the forces of heaven are there to back you up. You can give orders too. Only your authority and your dominion is not just over 100 men. It is over everything there is on the face of this earth. If you say for the stormy wind to stop blowing, it will stop. If you say for the raging seas to be quiet, the waves will lie down and be quiet. If you say for a tree to be cursed and dried up at the roots, it's going to dry up and die. If you command a crippled arm to be stretched forth and healed, it's going to be stretched forth and healed. If you command the leper to be clean, as you did just prior to this meeting, that leper is going to be clean. You, O Lord, you're under the authority of the God of heaven. You have his name and his power to back up everything you say. And so, if you will just speak the word, my servant will be healed. That's what the centurion saw, one with absolute authority and dominion over all the power of the enemy, over all sin, over all sickness, over all of God's creation. In fact, he saw beyond what Isaiah saw when he wrote, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1. Friends, see Jesus as he is and expect him to say, I will, to your circumstance today. Dear listeners, I'd like to invite you to our Sunday service held at the Chuck Bailey Recreation Center every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. in Surrey Central City. The brand new Chuck Bailey Recreation Center is located just southeast of the Gateway SkyTrain station on University Drive and across from the Wally Athletic Park. If you'd like more information about the church and the ministry, please go to our website at www.surreycitychurch.com. That's surreycitychurch.com. And in doing so, you will also find our donate button at the top of the page. When you click on that, that will take you to our PayPal website. There you can make your tax-deductible donation by using your credit or debit card. Or, if you don't use PayPal, just follow the continue link at the bottom of the page to your left. We hope that you will support your local ministries, reminding you that we are a listener-supported radio broadcast in need of your financial support. We also hope that you're sharing this broadcast with many of your friends. Now, if you don't use the PayPal tool, you can always write to us and send in your donation to Spirit and Life Radio, Suite number 491, 7360, 137th Street, Surrey, BC, V3W 1A3. That's suite number 491, 7360, 137th Street, Surrey, V3W 1A3. And on the U.S. side, you can send in your donation to P.O. Box 737, Ferndale, Washington, 98248. P.O. Box 737 in Ferndale, Washington, 98248. Canadians, please make your checks out to Surrey Central City Church. And on the U.S. side, write your checks to Spirit Life Worship Center. Please include Spirit and Life Radio in the memo section of your checks so we may receive all of you properly who give. And we want you to know we appreciate your help in keeping us on the air. It's my sincere prayer that you'll help us today by sending in your tax-deductible donation. All of our information is on our website at surreycitychurch.com. Now remember, friends, it is the Spirit who gives life. The flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak to you are spirit, and they are life. Spirit Life Radio, your spirit-filled connection.